What's up guys, my name is Ace, and Black Ops 7 is finally here, at least for those of us that have all taken a trip to New Zealand. And in today's video, I wanted to share some of the key changes that I've noticed right away that took place from the beta build of the game till launch. Keeping in mind this is still very early on, I've played a small handful of matches, but I wanted to talk about the things that I've noticed right away, because there are absolutely some very noticeable differences here in the launch build of the game versus the beta build. And let's just dive into the big one, the thing I noticed right away. Literally my first gunfight in Black Ops 7, Aim Assist has been very noticeably nerfed. Like, this isn't just a minor, they slightly reduced the strength or anything. Aim Assist feels totally different than it's ever felt in Call of Duty. And unfortunately, my second account is still downloading the game, so I'm unable to test this in a private match at the moment. Plus, I'm kind of waiting on the developers to actually provide us with the details. I believe they're still planning on doing that before doing all the testing, so this will likely get a dedicated video, but I wanted to share my initial impressions on this Aim Assist nerf, and like I said, this was immediately very noticeable. Now, from my perspective, I have no issue with this. I'll adapt to this just fine. I'm already starting to adapt to it. I'd maybe recommend turning down your sensitivity just a little bit lower than what you would normally use in Call of Duty, and that should help you adapt to this new Aim Assist. But in saying that, while I personally will adapt to this just fine, I do think this is going to be a very rude awakening for the vast majority of the controller player base that are more casual players that have been accustomed to the rotational aim assist in COD for the past 15 plus years in Call of Duty. Obviously, I think time will have to tell on this and the reaction to this, but my initial gut feeling here is there are going to be a lot of complaints about this from the more casual controller audience because they're suddenly not going to be able to aim nearly as well as they have been. And at the end of the day, they make up the vast majority of the player base of Call of Duty. So I want to be clear, I'm not calling for this, but my prediction on this is we are going to be seeing some big backlash here, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if they end up walking this back either fully or at least partially. Now, I do think it is too early for me to be sharing my opinions either way, whether I think it should be adjusted or not from here. Again, once I make the dedicated video, fully learn how the system works and how much has changed and stuff, then I'll be more comfortable sharing my opinion, but that's just the prediction that I have. But this is actually a big thing I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below. For anybody that has played Black Ops 7 at launch now on controller, how are you feeling about the new state of Aim Assist? Do you guys like it in its current state? Do you think they took it too far? Please let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to see what the general reaction is to this. But that's the first thing, and like I said, that was the most obvious thing that was just immediate. I knew that right from the moment I got into a gunfight. Next, before we get into the second thing, this is something I'm going to have to do at least for a few videos here or there. For those of you guys that recognize me but haven't noticed yet, this is a new channel. This isn't my main channel, and therefore if you've stumbled on this video and realize you're not subscribed, this is my new COD channel. This is the home of my Call of Duty content. I wanted a fresh start, a clean slate here to really build up an audience of people that actually care about Call of Duty, because I think a lot of my older audience with the main channel, many of them had totally turned against Call of Duty, which is fair enough, but that just meant that things had really stagnated there when it comes to growth with Call of Duty content. So that's why we have this clean slate. And therefore, if you are interested in my Call of Duty content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right, back to it. The second big thing that I noticed very quickly while playing my first few matches of Black Ops 7 is the slide. They have noticeably toned back the slide in this game. It seems that not only the distance that you're able to slide, but also the duration of the slide has been toned back. And my initial impression of this is I actually quite like it. This is something I have been calling for, even as somebody that tends to prefer more aggressive Call of Duty games. I just felt like Black Ops 6 and the Black Ops 7 beta had the slide way overboard, especially with omni movement and sideways slides. It really did feel like a slip and slide, and I didn't like the fact that sliding was just like the default way to get from point A to point B all the time, and if you weren't doing it, you were basically doing something wrong. As it is right now, in the current state of Black Ops 7, my initial impression is slide is still a very useful, aggressive tool. Like sliding around the corner to challenge a gunfight, still great, still works excellent. Probably especially because of the Aim Assist nerf. However, it just doesn't feel like I need to be sliding all the time in order to be competitive in the game. And I think that's great. So again, early impression, I actually think they kind of nailed it with the slide adjustment here. But of course, that is just my opinion on that. Then another really big change that I have been begging for since Modern Warfare 2019, and we didn't see this change take place in the beta, but it's here for launch. This is the return of persistent lobbies. And what that means is after a game ends, instead of it pulling you out and then searching for a match again and putting you into an entirely new match, sometimes maybe you would run into the same people match after match, but it was always a coin flip and you never knew what you were gonna get. That's not what's happening anymore. Now, once you finish a match, you stay in that lobby. and there's a consistent lobby time between matches where you can edit your classes, vote for your map for the next one, and this feels amazing so far. I'm really happy to see this. A lot of people were wondering how they were going to handle this with the quick play filters, because it really did seem like these would clash a little bit, because if you're selecting quick play and you have multiple options, multiple game modes selected, what happens after you finish a match in that case? Well, they made it quite simple, and this is exactly what I was hoping they would do here. With your quick play filter, when you search for a match, you're rolling the dice to get one of the game modes that you have selected. Once you get into a lobby, you are now in that lobby tied to that game mode. So if I have Domination and Team Deathmatch selected, and I search for a match and I get into a Domination lobby, well, now I'm in a Domination lobby. If I finish that match and I don't do anything, the lobby persists, it carries over into the next match, and the next match will always be Domination as well. So until I leave and search again, I will be playing Domination. Now, an unnecessary but pretty neat quality of life feature they added here is if you go to back out of the lobby, instead of just leaving lobby and then you have to search again, which requires you to have to press like 4 buttons, now when you go to leave the lobby, it comes up with 2 options: leave lobby or search again. And that's great. It requires fewer button presses for those people that do want to rematch make after every game. You're not going to have to go out of your way to do that at all. It's super simple. Even though I already thought it was super simple to just back out and search again, this just makes it that much easier. And this is the best of both worlds in my opinion, because it offers maximum player choice. If you want to stay, that's the default. You can stay now. If you want to leave, you can do that really quickly and easily with like 2 button presses. That is far superior to what we've been dealing with for the past 6 years, and that is you're leaving no matter what. The game will rematch make you, and you have no say in the matter. So I'm really happy to see that one. Next up, getting back into some noticeable gameplay changes from beta till launch. Footstep audio. In the beta, footstep audio seemed essentially non-existent. I almost never heard a footstep throughout the beta, and while I always lean toward preferring footsteps being a little too quiet rather than too loud in Call of Duty specifically, especially 6v6 Call of Duty, one of the bits of feedback I provided in the beta is I thought they did lean a little too far in the direction of too quiet, and footsteps, like I said, were essentially non-existent even without the ninja perk. So far, with the launch of the game in my first handful of matches, the footsteps are definitely louder than they were in the beta, but they're still quite quiet. So you're not going to be able to rely on footsteps as your primary source of awareness or anything. You're not going to be hearing people 30 meters through walls, so you have like 5 seconds to prepare for them and you know exactly where they are at every point along the way as they're approaching you. It's not like that. But I've definitely caught some situations where if somebody runs up behind me, I'm hearing them. I'm able to turn around and maybe fight back in that situation. I may not have a ton of time to react, but I've got that sound cue, and I at least feel like people aren't just randomly popping up behind me with no audio attached to them whatsoever. So again, so far it is early, and maybe my impressions will change as I get more playtime, but the footsteps do seem to be in a much better place now at launch, and I'm glad they didn't take it too far in the other direction and overcompensate here and make it so the footsteps were so loud that any sort of movement just feels like you're being punished. And then outside of all of that, another huge change that was made, but we've already covered all the details on this, and realistically, I haven't had nearly enough gameplay time to fully experience this. They have totally reworked the perk system. If you guys are interested in seeing the changes they made to the perks from beta till launch, I did already cover that in great detail, so you can see exactly what changed, which perks they combined together, which perks they moved to a different tier. I will leave a link to that down below. It is on the main channel. But at least on paper, I'm really liking what I'm seeing here with these perk adjustments. It does seem to be a massive improvement over the beta, especially with the fact that they built in the ability to aim down sight while sliding or wall jumping or diving without having to use a dexterity perk. Now, I know I said that was the last one. However, there's one last little thing I wanted to point out, although it's huge for me and what I do here on the channel. The new detailed stat screen is such a nice step up from Black Ops 6. It's very similar and familiar, but the big change here is they provided all of our damage range drop-off points and all of the damage values at various ranges. That makes my life a whole lot easier. I've already got my spreadsheet almost finished, and that will allow me to dive into gun guides so much sooner than I would otherwise be able to. And there we go. Those are the main changes that were definitely noticeable from the beta build to the launch build of the game. I'm sure there were a bunch of little things that changed as well, but these were the really noticeable things. And overall, I would say these are excellent changes. However, with that aim assist adjustment, again, I'm just curious to see what the reaction is from the player base in general. I suspect there's going to be a lot of complaints about them taking this too far and it's too weak. Like I said, I do plan on making a dedicated video on this to show you guys exactly what changed and what the strengths are and everything like that. So stay tuned to the channel. If you guys haven't subscribed to this channel, again, please do so you guys don't miss out on any of that future stuff. And this is where I'm curious to hear from you guys in those comments down below. How are you feeling about these changes? Whether you've played the game or not and you're just reacting based on what I'm sharing here. Are you guys liking the state of the game at launch relative to the beta build, or are there certain things that you preferred in the beta compared to launch? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.